So, relative dating is where we find the age of a rock relative to other rocks. There are a few different ways that this can be done, but I'm just going to be going through one of them. To understand relative dating in the context of fossils, we need to know a bit about how fossils are actually formed. Again, there are lots of different ways which fossils can be made, there are many different types of fossils, so I'm just going to stick with a couple of examples. One way a fossil can be made is when an organism dies and its body is covered in sediment. Things like rock or dirt or ash from a volcano, that sort of thing. So the organism is covered in this sediment, and the sediment keeps building up layers and layers, and eventually all that extra weight on top causes the lower layers to compact and harden, forming sedimentary rock. While all this is happening, the dead organism doesn't just sit there. Eventually, it rots away and leaves an open space in the rock. This open space can be filled in with minerals precipitated from groundwater like calcium or silica. Or, if it isn't filled in, you end up with this mold of what the organism looked like from the outside. Now, since most things aren't covered up by sediment immediately after they die, you're usually only left with the bones being covered up. The rest either rots away or it gets eaten. So, given we know that the main requirement for fossilization is for sediment to cover the dead organism, we can begin to talk about relative dating. With sedimentary rock, based off what I was talking about earlier, we know that sediments build up over time. It makes sense then that a sedimentary layer that's above another layer is younger. We don't necessarily need to radiometrically date each layer to know that the older layer will be below the younger as it's covered with sediment. So it also makes sense that a fossil found in that lower layer will be older than a fossil found in the higher layer. And this is all relative dating is. We're finding the date of a fossil or rock relative to other fossils or rocks. Again, the names are pretty intuitive. Absolute dating finds the absolute quantitative age, whereas relative dating finds the age of things compared to each other, a qualitative age.